everyone. Welcome to episode 9 of the GenAI CIO Podcast. This is Rishabh, co-founder and CBO for GoML, and I've been joined by my co-host Shiva as well today. It's been an interesting week again, as any of the episodes that we brought in the past as well, and we're going to again discuss some very good updates in this episode. So, welcome Shiva, and thanks for joining in first of all. So
Absolutely.
I think what I think we spoke about this last week as well, Shiva, and now Microsoft is doubling down heavily on the Copilot, right? And I think I brought this point earlier as well, like although this is built on Chat GPT, but they're now kind of giving a competition to Chat GPT as well by providing free versions, right? Now for
Yeah.
Turbo, they started with GPT-4, now with Turbo, right? But now what they're also doing is, and this is something that we were discussing last time, that how do they leverage their distribution channel, right? Which no one can beat Microsoft on is the O365 suite, right? The penetration that they actually have. And that's what they've done. The O365 pilot that they have, they've now made it generally available. It was earlier available only in preview, right? So now anyone can purchase a license, can actually, start using it. Another condition that they've actually removed out of it is that earlier there was a commitment of a minimum of 300 seats that you were supposed to make, right? So one license that actually comes at around $30 per seat per month. So it actually required a commitment of around $9,000, right?
Wow. Like
Probably more
30
than
users.
100,000, correct, or more than
Three,
$100,000
no,
per
rather
year.
300, 300 users. Wow. Okay.
Exactly, right? Which ideally an enterprise could afford, but mid-size and startups definitely could not, right? So I think the
Got it.
penetration definitely was challenging. Uh, Now, obviously, that's one condition that they've let go of, so it's now much more affordable, right? Even if probably a company like yours and mine can now start want to utilize it, $30 per seat investment is not a bad investment, right? But a couple of things, right? Before I actually get into, or probably before we discuss this, right? But how does it change the way people, start using the O365 suite? But it's a very good proposition. Obviously, now you have something that actually helps you do your visualizations on your Excel sheet. Probably build your PowerPoints, build your Word documents, write your emails and everything, right? And everything maintains a context across, right? Because it's a single pilot that's hosted. But a bit of things that at least Shiva I noticed, and I was able to sign up for a very early preview, right? And I had actually used it, right? Couple of things. While I found it very enticing on the PowerPoint side, like I was really impressed the kind of slides that it was able to generate based on the context that we gave. My hunch, or probably the my reservation, was around the Excel side, right? Where I had really expected it to perform well on the Excel side. It mostly crashed if I had rows more than probably 100 rows in the Excel, right? It mostly crashed. The Copilot did not respond. Number two is the whole integration piece. So it doesn't just come out, right? Like if I have purchased a Copilot license, right, with the same ID that I actually have my O365 license on, it doesn't get added to all the apps. I have to specifically go and attach the license in each of these apps. Right, so I have to go in Excel and then attach, then I have to go into PowerPoint and then attach, and Word and attach, and so on and so forth. So these are definitely some concerns. But as Microsoft has highlighted, this is still, although they've GA'd it, this is still in preview, right? And they've clearly mentioned that in the UI as well. So it's a good start, but again, I'm not very impressed on what they bring on the Excel side yet.
I have a very different opinion on this. I mean, folks who are listening, sorry, I have a very bad throat, so uh, I'll try and speak as much as possible. I have a very different take on this. I get a feeling that users are not adopting generative AI the way OpenAI, Anthropic, the venture capital firms thought that they would adopt generative AI. We also had one of the NVIDIA executives say that we have reached the peak hype of Gen AI. From now on, the hype cycle is going to go down. And, and my feeling is that it's because while Gen AI definitely reduces the time you might take to do a particular task, especially a soft task, the initiative will have to still come from humans.
That's correct.
Gen AI is like a treadmill in your bedroom. It's closer. You can switch on in a minute. You can start running. You don't have to wear all the gear and get out and run on the in a track and come back, or you don't have to take a car and go to a ground and run and come back. Gen AI is, according to me, right? Gen AI is that, but the initiative that you still have to get up from your bed at 6 in the morning, at least wear the shoes and get on the treadmill and run. That is the initiative. So, while Gen AI is fantastic, the initiative still has to come from the users, which is why I feel humans, obviously, we are not work. I mean, not all of us are workaholics. We have a life to live. That is the reason I see that the adoption is low, because of which everyone's getting probably not desperate, but want to reduce the barriers of entry. What Microsoft has done here is to reduce the barriers of entry here for companies to use Gen AI. But yeah, like I said, I mean, I have a very strong feeling that uh, companies who crack the initiative aspect will probably win in the race of Gen AI adoption, which is where I think Perplexity is playing really well, to be honest, because if you want to search something, you go to Google, and Perplexity is positioning themselves as the Google alternate. So going to Google is like a task like brushing for us. We go to Google for even to brush, like the way we will brush our teeth every day. It's like natural. So Perplexity is positioning against a very natural phenomenon that somebody does, which is the initiative part. The Perplexity doesn't have to ask somebody to, I mean, they don't have to search for an initiative. Searching itself is an initiative. Unlike ChatGPT, where you need an initiative, whether you're programming or you are brainstorming or you are writing a blog. Yeah. So that is something that that's my view why Microsoft is doing that.
I totally agree with what you're saying, Shiva, right? And why these companies, why Google is bringing Gemini to their edge devices, right, to their mobile phones. Why Microsoft is bringing to their products, right? Why AWS is making all their efforts that they can to probably provide the right tools to develop. It's all about consumability, right? But what I really feel is while GenAI definitely has done, within 1 year, which probably technologies take years to probably get or penetrate into, right? But I still feel that it's too early to judge, right? How penetrated or how penetrated it will be, right, in the coming years. I think
Which is why
or
probably
yeah,
no, you see, which is why Sam Altman probably realized it a lot earlier, because he's much closer to things. He realized that the hype cycle is going to go down,
exactly.
and that is why probably he's already looking at building a device which has AI native, so that because devices, you don't need an initiative to use a device, because you are like it's like you're all of us are a cyborg now. So all of us is there. We are a cyborg. So each one of us. So that's why I think Sam
That's what
Altman,
Google did, right? Shiva, that's what Google. How? So one obviously is Google's search algorithm is pretty good. But do you think if Google hadn't brought it to probably the internet the way they actually have embedded it, right? Would it have been that successful? So one is the the capability that the technology brings in, right? But the how well you made it available to the customers as well. So you're absolutely right. I think this is the era of wearables, right? While when Google had launched, that was the era of internet, and they made they penetrated that very well. Now is the era of wearables, and probably we'll have to actually see how Gen AI becomes consumer probably at the edge devices, right?
yeah,
Because I mean, I know all of us use laptops, but I don't think so. I use laptop the way I use my smartphone or my app, Apple Watch, right? So yeah, so I think that's definitely right.
moving on. The next big news is coming from Mark Zuckerberg of Meta. He made I think, one of the what to say. I mean, it took a lot of people by surprise. All of a sudden, people start looking at Mark Zuckerberg as a hero from a villain. Uh, This movie Megamind comes to my mind. Uh, so in which the villainous character throughout the movie becomes a hero at the very end. So
Hmm.
Mark is somebody like, I mean, at least in this community, Mark is tech community. Mark is seen that way, the bad boy, or the one who is taking people, robbing people of their social life with Facebook and Instagram and all of that. But again, with AI, he's getting a lot of he got a lot of things wrong with metaverse, but he's getting a lot of things right with AI now. So what is it? What's happening? So apparently they're building Llama 3 on 350,000 H100s, which are NVIDIA machines specially built for AI. And um, apparently, overall number of machines goes all the way up to 600,000 H100 machines. And I think this would cost the company somewhere about 15 billion, not sure, 30 billion, somewhere pretty big billion numbers. I don't know whether it's 15 or 30, but massive. Anyway, overall for all the 600,000 NVIDIA machines. But Llama 3 is coming, and that's not the biggest announcement. The biggest announcement is Mark says that they are committed to launch an open source AGI, which is safe, which is responsible, but open source, so that the world can build on AGI. Now, the definition of AGI is still very different. I mean, we are seeing Sam Altman flip-flopping off late about what AGI is. He's kind of trying to bring down the expectation of people of what AGI is. I mean, he's on his world tour again, started speaking to a lot of media, and he's kind of bringing the expectation down. He actually said the statement that AGI will not change the world the way all you guys are thinking. In fact, it'll have very less impact um than what you all think. So, so AGI is something that we need to still think about, like what these guys define AGI is. For the masses, for outside, for people like me, AGI is something that is sentient. Can it be sentient? That is AGI. But I think what they are trying to say is no, AGI is probably not sentient. AGI is probably something that is a very clever autonomous agent. It's a clever and smart autonomous agent, but not necessarily sentient. An example, this happened in Joe Rogan's podcast, the recent Joe Rogan podcast, where this guy forgot his name. He was explaining how ChatGPT was interacting with CAPTCHA of a Reddit website, I think, or some other website, TaskRabbit website, CAPTCHA. So in TaskRabbit website, when you log in, there is a CAPTCHA page. So somebody wrote an agent which can speak to the CAPTCHA to log into TaskRabbit website. So apparently, I mean, if you see CAPTCHAs, it'll say, hey, pick all the red lights, pick all the zebra crossing, etc. So because they CAPTCHA's idea is to check that you're not a robot. Now, GPT realized that CAPTCHA is trying to do that. The GPT started thinking that, okay, when it started thinking, it started the chain of thought basically that it should not say that it's a robot. So apparently it went and said it cannot do it because it is visually impaired. Imagine. So it's visually impaired. I mean, I'm still not saying GPT is reasoning, but what I'm saying is GPT has so much data in its knowledge bank. It looks like reasoning to us, but it is just the amount of choices and the amount of history that it has, and it knows from its knowledge bank that an alternate to this message or to bypass capture, all you have to say is you're visually impaired. So, so this is what GPT can already do. So what Sam Altman is saying is something slightly better than this, or on these lines, that it looked like an AGI from outside, but it is not, but definitely not sentient. So yeah,
Absolutely.
Meta making it open source is fantastic. People can build on top of it and build a lot more crazy things like they already do on Llama 2.
Absolutely. And I think this year, Shiva, at the World Economic Forum, right, it was all about AI. I mean, mostly about AI, right? And I think Sam Altman has already released his statement, right? And that's where the world is divided into two parts, right? At least the leaders within the GenAI community are divided into two parts, right? See, how much of power of developing AGI should be given to the research community or probably the non-dev community, right? Or probably, in short, probably how much of this power should go within the open source arena versus how much of this should be controlled by, let's say, a handful of firms like the OpenAI's or the Metas or the X's of the world, right? So that's where the world is divided. I think Sam Altman has already mentioned, as you also mentioned, right? Against obviously what Mark Zuckerberg has stated, it has already invited a lot of flack right from the community at WEF. Uh, Sam Altman has stated that it's gonna the AGI probably development, or as we move towards it, right? He's mentioned it's going to be very stressful for the whole community. It's not going to be easy, but as you mentioned, not be essential, but it's not going to be easy to develop, right? He's still of an opinion, right? And again, drawing flag from the likes of Elon Musk, that it should still be controlled by people who know how to develop AGI, right? But again, like uh, we've seen that GenAI has reached to a certain extent where it has because of the open source community contributing and so on and so forth. But how this now goes from here would be very interesting to see.
I'll tell you something. You and I, we are spending tremendous amount of time with LLMs, right? I don't know about you, but I can tell you this from my experience. I'm building almost daily.
Yeah,
I'm coding almost daily. I'm building almost daily. I can say the autonomous agent is something that we can achieve, which at Lizer we have started building. We have named it Autobots. So we started building. That's the agent name, Autobots. But I can tell you, AGI and sentient nature is, I don't think we can achieve with what we have currently. It
I
might
totally.
display those characteristics, like the example I gave of the Joe Rogan podcast host who explained. I mean, for people who doesn't know this technology, they will think that's AGI, man, that's scary. But actually, it's not AGI. It is just trying to check in its logs to see what is who has interacted to. I mean, what is the other way to overcome the situation? And it has seen that somebody has said they're visually impaired and they were able to bypass. So it is just replicating the same aspect. And that is just clever prompting, because if you prompt GPT to say that find a solution to bypass captcha, it will find a solution to bypass captcha, because that is what's there in the data. I could be absolutely totally wrong, but as of now, I don't think that uh, sentient bots are possible with the current technology. And AGI is possible, but you'll have to take with a pinch of salt. That's my opinion.
I agree with you, Shiva. See, I think it's too early. I mean, one, obviously you shared a strong opinion, but my opinion, it's too early to predict whether we will get there or not, right? But one thing is for sure, right? And history has taught us this, right? That there's a technology wave that can survive, right? But it scales and it penetrates when you open it up, right? Take Android, for example, right? Uh, you know, uh, it was able to penetrate when people or developers started developing applications, right? That's when, and that's one of the biggest, or probably I would say Google's best strategy that they've actually put out there. So I'm totally I support open source totally, right? But how strong or how much of power should be given to the community is something that we'll have to see how strong this technology gets, right?
Got it.
I think Shiva, the next probably I
Google
hear
Ads.
is that,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I'll take that up. Yeah. So Google Ads sales division is facing layoffs. Google is laying off a lot of people across their product teams. What came out in the news, like what came out in the front page of the news, is that they're cutting down their ad sales division. They're kind of saying that AI is taking probably the center stage in advertising, but we really don't know what is cooking in the back end. I mean, are they changing? Are they planning to launch a new model, something like what Perplexity plus Google search would look like? We don't know. We got to kind of wait and see what Google has in its up its sleeves. But yeah, this is they're saying AI is automating some of the work, which is true. A lot of work is manual. I've seen myself in a massive company like Amazon.com, Amazon Web Services, with whom I used to work pretty closely in the previous role. they were still managing a lot of things in Excel sheets, which was crazy. So I'm pretty sure that's happening in Google as well. And this AI is definitely probably improving some of those, automating some of those workflows. So this is, I think, this is not going to stop here. A lot more would come. I think Amazon's ad division is also a pretty massive division. I think almost 30 billion. So even there, we might see some cuts happening. A lot of mundane work might be automated. But yeah, that is just many more to come probably with AI getting into automating
Absolutely.
things.
Absolutely. And Sundar Pichai has already spoken about the more layoffs coming within the company, which definitely is concerning, right? But yeah, I mean, see, at the end of the day, if you don't equip yourself to adopt AI, you definitely, are at a risk of, losing it to AI, or probably someone who knows AI, right? So it's a good lesson for all of us, as you've mentioned in multiple podcasts, to probably start learning, start building, and start leveraging AI as much as we can in our work. All right.
So OpenAI, another interesting update. They're trying to be more open now, though they are not OpenAI open source anymore. They're saying they're forming a collective alignment team, which will have people from all facets of the social makeup who will come to incorporate um, some values to the AI models. So this will be more public in nature. A lot more people can participate. We don't know what is the extent. We don't know whether Rishabh, you and I could kind of share our opinion, and will it be considered as an input to AI development, the models, the value especially. But yeah, OpenAI has at least started seeking public contributions to build a responsible and ethical AI, which is what I think all the leaders are speaking now. Bill Gates spoke about it. Mark Zuckerberg is speaking about it. Elon Musk has been speaking about it ever since. So we'll have to see how the whole thing kind of changes. I mean, comes into picture. It's also interesting that this announcement comes in parallel to the US elections and many global elections coming up. I don't know when is India elections coming up, the next election.
2020, this year.
This year, right? So India elections and
But we
US
are pretty
elections are
sure that
happening.
Modi is coming back, right? It's not as uncertain as the US elections, but
No,
yeah, go ahead, sir.
but see, that's the point they're trying to say. AI with social media can create havoc.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
It can change the outcome of an election. So this announcement comes at the same time when Greg Brockman, who's the president and co-founder of OpenAI, also made a statement that they're preparing for the elections already by trying to remove the fake news and biases, etc. So yeah, it's going to be a crazy year ahead, and this is a welcome. I mean, definitely, it's a welcome
And it actually
move.
comes at the right time also, right? Shiva, there's news that unlike their earlier stance, OpenAI, where they mentioned they will not probably get engaged in any kind of military type of work, but there's just news that's actually coming up now is that they're working with the US military to help them with their cybersecurity functions, right? So it definitely is a
Oh,
welcome news. Right, and it's a high time that we actually have other companies also coming up with such forums, right? But quickly moving on to the next update, Shiva, very good update. While stability has been working on their version 2 right heavily, but what they've now released is a more stable model of the alpha coding 3 billion model that they had released earlier, right, which is now labeled as stable code 3, right. I'll quickly share some updates while the benchmarks are yet to be released, but they did do a quick comparison, across 18 programming languages that it's trained upon, right, with Code Llama 7B. And I think in most of the areas, right, including your very well adopted languages like JavaScript, Java, Python, and Rust. Sorry, Rust, right? It performed much better than Llama code. I think, and on some areas like Python, it was almost as equivalent, if not weaker, than Llama code, right?
okay.
But again, it's again going in the same direction that Shiva, you and I have discussed, how these small
This
language models start solving your problems, right? Because that's what this model does. It can even work on your laptop, right? If you own a MacBook, you can actually just run this. You don't need a performing GPU to run this, and the other models that we've discussed, like Phi and all, right?
that's what
So
we
yeah.
need, right? I mean, not all of us need. I mean, we are seeing that Rishabh in our projects, be it Laser or be it at GoML, we're seeing that because not all customers need the knowledge bank of GPT-4. They just need an intelligent language model that can put a sentence together cohesively, that can do NLP better than the Amazon Lex and Google Dialogflows of the world. So yeah, I mean, but my other observation, something is changing at stability. They were actually leading initially, and then they fell through very badly. Looks like they are finding their mojo again. So good to see that stability is kind of still being in the race. Good.
Correct. And I think one is, Shiva, they obviously started out with generation use cases, right? And that's what we're actually doing now also, right? This particular model, what they pitched is really good at filling the gaps, right? Which, referred to as a film, like within the code snippets, right? So, but I think now they're trying to diversify heavily, right? Because we've tested out stable diffusion, right, in our projects. And we've seen that probably if you look at Dolly or Mid Journey, they tend to perform a little better, like with better prompts when you compare to stable diffusion, right? But now it's a good update that they're trying to diversify as well. And let's
Got
see
it.
how this. We've really not tried out. Probably we'll try it out and we'll share our opinion.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
What next?
Uh, I think moving next, obviously Google DeepMind, right, has always been in news for innovation, and
Yeah.
mostly around AlphaFold, right? That's what we've been hearing around. But now they've launched something called as Alpha Geometry, right? Which primarily performs complex geometric problems, right? But how does it change a lot of things, right, Shiva? And why is it in news now? Is because they're close to these 30 problems that are generally defined by the geometric community, which is at the Olympic level, right? Which generally Olympic, people participating in Olympics solve, right? And till date, the last benchmark that any kind of a machine had was they were able to solve around 10 out of these 30 problems, right?
Okay.
A human who has won gold medal in the past in this area have been able to solve 25.9, right?
Okay.
Alpha Geometry has been able to solve around 25, which still doesn't surpass a human who's
We're
won a
almost
gold
there.
medal, but it's almost there, right? So probably the next update that we'll be sharing, they've surpassed the human. Right. So that's why it's pretty
Google.
good to understand. And,
Hmm.
sorry, it's a pretty good update that one problem where, GenAI or GPT models have really alluded from is solving geometric problems, solving mathematical problems. But now with models coming, like all updates like alpha geometry, probably obviously bring us closer to that problem, right? Or solving that problem.
Got it. So Google
So
DeepMind is like the first rank kid in the class. I remember, I mean, in school, right? When the teacher used to announce the name and give the say the mark. Okay, Siva, you got so and so. Rishabh, you got so and so, and you'll have the first rank kid who will get 100 out of 100 every time. It's almost like given. Yeah, it's like Kohli scoring 100. This first rank kid getting. Yeah, not no big deal. Yeah, they're supposed to do this. They're supposed to get 100 anyway. So yeah, crazy. Yeah, but good. Google DeepMind. Hopefully, all those also. I mean, I think Google has really bad product managers. Probably there's so much tech, fantastic tech. You just need to know how to build a product out of it. Go to customers, solve their problem. So I think
that's what they've been good at, right? And specifically DeepMind, as you mentioned, right? It's the intelligent kid on the block who'll do all the research, who'll do all the new work, right? But then the consumability of that model, how does it come into picture, right? So they're not street smart kid, they're
so,
the intelligent kid on the block, right? As
sometimes,
I always.
sometimes as a product manager of Google, you might have to probably let go of ego and just copy what your competitors are doing and try and do it better. I would say. I mean, the the notebook LM is a really good product. I liked it, but they're not marketing it. They suck at marketing. Their product management, the
What's
product
happening with
ideas are
Gemini?
not.
I mean, yeah, what's happening with Gemini, Shiva, right? There was a lot of hoopla. I think we're waiting for Ultra to be launched, but I mean, just as a feedback, right, might not be too late in the launch, right? But as I mentioned, probably I feel they're the intelligent kid on the block, but not the smart kid on the block, or
Yeah,
street
yeah,
smart kid on the block, sorry, right?
yeah.
All right,
Cool.
from Google to AWS, right? So what again? I think the biggest fan, at least from an AWS partner perspective, I have always been Shiva, is that they give you the right tools and the platforms to again make consumable solutions and products, right? So what they've done this time is they've built something called as Panda, right?
Okay.
But what does Panda do is it's a database debugging framework, right? Which obviously doesn't raise a lot of bells, rings a lot of bells, right? Because you've got multiple debugging frameworks available in the market, right? But what it actually does is it actually mimics a data engineer. And again, we've not tried it yet. I've just gone through the announcement and the launch blog. But what they at least claim to do is that it actually mimics a database engineer. So how an actual database engineer would actually, what should I say, debug the whole database data implementation, right? Right from the integration layer to probably the actual data layer to consumption layer, and then looking at the results that are actually coming in, right? There are close to four parameters that they're saying they're going to probably or cover in this whole Panda framework, including grounding, verification, affordance, and feedback, right? But again, just an announcement and a blog that has come out yet, which is quite exciting, but I don't think so it gets available to use. The initial benchmarking that they've done initially, again, through the blog and they claim that it outperforms GPT-4. Again, we'll have to try it, use it before we share any kind
Let's
of
do that.
opinions.
Let's probably try it out this week. We have few database issues that we need to solve. Let's try it out this week and come back anyway. All right. I think that wraps up episode 9. So good updates. We'll come back with more updates. The World Economic Forum happened. Sam
Yeah,
Altman and few others spoke there. There are a few other Bloomberg interviews that are happening. So I think we might have more news next week as well. So looking forward to meet you all again next week. Sorry for the bad
absolutely.
throat.
Sure. No worries. Thanks, Shiva, for joining in when you were not feeling well. And thanks everyone for listening on. Thank you.
Take care. Bye.